you really want them to answer. Even like on the sign up side, it's not as important, but we're scoring the leads, okay? In this phase, we need to score leads. It's so important here that we need to score the leads because we have to know who to listen to. We got to understand in our investigative survey, who are the diehards, finding our diehard. My diehard raving fan. All right, so phase 3, what's it about? Here we go. So phase 3, we're going to go over our welcome. We're going to go over our lead opt-in, and we're going to go over our outcome. I'm going to give you a very high level of this since I'm going to be doing it one-on-one with you guys, and I'll be able to explain it to you guys one-on-one. But so here we go. All right, welcome page. So it's like I said, the welcome page is all based off of one, what are you doing? Like investigating, researching. If you're doing that, then you don't even necessarily need a welcome page. You could take them right into the survey, okay? You're asking somebody to take a survey to give you some answers, and you're asking them to help you out because you respect them, you want their advice, you want their opinion on a certain situation. You want to serve people, so you just want feedback on what they want, right? And then you're going to give it to them. We're taking all the guesswork out of the equation, all right? However, if you want to send it out and then have somebody go to the page and fill out beforehand, you can do that, but you don't have to. You can take them right into the questions, all right? And you really want them to answer. Even like on the sign-up side, it's not as important, but we're scoring the leads, okay? In this phase, we need to score leads. It's so important here that we need to score the leads because we have to know who to listen to. We got to understand in our investigative survey, who are the diehards, finding our diehard. My diehard raving fan, right? So, all right, on the welcome, we're going to do that for the investigative. For the segmentation side, it's a little bit different, right? Because we're deciding on the type of survey. But as a rule of thumb, okay, the way I'm going to lay it out in a framework, and we can always change this, okay? There's different templates that you can have, right? So you can have your template with one column where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And it could be how you're going to write this out versus the template could be, you guys have seen all this, right? So you can have an image here. You could have your headline here. You could have the base here. You could have your button here, right? So that's the second way. These are with you on the welcome page of things that you're now using on our system, okay? The other way to do it would be that you have a radio button that you would put onto your site. So if someone lands on your site, so a third-party site, and you have your site, right? And then you would put some sort of button, okay? And when someone clicks that button, and you can do whatever you want on your pages, it's going to pop over the survey. Like that. And that just takes a little bit of code that you put onto your site. Okay? So if you have any questions on that, let me know. All right. So on your welcome page, here we go. I'm going to show you the high-level framework. Welcome framework that we're going to go over, which is 1. Getting rid of this one because it's not writing. Yes. Okay. Which is our headline, right? This is the hook. So on the headline, you guys all know this. Anybody that's been in this space for even a short period of time already knows, right, the concept, right? You're going to make the big promise, right? What are you doing? What are you promising them? And what is the big challenge? Objection. Okay? So, how to without pain. In the simplest way, how to desire without pain, or types of headlines, right? So you're giving somebody some sort of promise right here. So as an example, how to build your list without having any money, how to build a massive qualified list of emails without having any marketing experience whatsoever, right? So that's kind of the concept here on how you're doing this, right? Discover how to build a massive qualified list of emails, even if you've tried this 15 times and it didn't work. Okay? There's tons of different types of headlines that we can work with here, but the idea is that you're going to have something along the lines of where you're making a big promise and then you're doing it off of the challenge, right? Then number 2, okay, so here's the thing about what's going on with what you're doing that's very different than everybody else, okay? You're trying to learn something from somebody, you're trying to identify because you don't want to market to them the exact same way, right? So what you're saying here is that when it comes to whatever the problem is, right? So when it comes to your problem, everybody's different, right? There's not one universal answer that's going to help you solve that problem, right? Everybody has different challenges and different objections, right? We always go into like the vehicle, internal, external, right? Well, how do you know which one to use? You don't, you're guessing, right? You don't. So the idea here is to say to somebody, when it comes to your problem, there isn't one answer for everyone, right? There isn't one answer for everyone, right? The idea is that we're showing them that what we're doing here is going to be designed for them. So we dive into step 3 is call them the tell me and I'll tell you. Okay? So the idea here is that you're going to go through this process where you're going to now ask them to give you some information. And if they do, then you can better help them. You can better serve them. So, okay, when it comes to how to build your list without having any marketing experience whatsoever, when it comes to building your list and getting qualified leads, there isn't just one answer for every person, for every marketer. But if you take a moment to answer a few questions, then I'll tell you what the number one thing to do that is designed specifically for your situation. So the whole idea is that we're customizing this for them. Okay? Does that make sense? You guys with me? Okay. So then number 4 would be your call to action. So get started, and I'll see you on the other side. And then the button. Boom. Go. Bing. Okay? So that's the framework. All right? And I probably got into too much detail right there because I'm going to do it later with you guys. So, but that's the idea. This is the framework for the welcome. Then what's going to happen is they're going to go through, they're going to start answering questions. As they start to answer questions, then you're going to start gathering all this information. Yes, gathering information. And when you're in your segmentation survey, what happens is here, you're starting to learn about this. How do I circle this? This, right? You're learning about that. So when they're going through the flow, right? Here's the start. And then you have, let's say, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, boom, 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 right? On Q4, let's say that's your primary segmentation. They answer questions, and let's say then they land on your lead capture page. Lead opt-in page, okay? So what does the framework look like here? So lead opt-in framework. Okay? So right here. Okay, very specific. Few things. Whatever you have for your headline here, you're going to want to keep the same. So you have a headline. But the difference here is that you just figured some things out. You identified what their challenges are. Everybody may have the same desires, but the challenges are very different, right? So you're going to write up the same headline. Let's call it the how to desire without segment specific objection. Okay? You're just customizing it. So each one of these is going to be different. You're going to have the headline very different based on what you learned about them inside here. Make sense? Of course it does, right? In some cases, you might have a different desire for each segment. So segment specific. Okay? So I hope that makes sense to you guys. What we're doing is we're keeping it the same and relatable, but what we're doing is we're listening, we're understanding what they're saying, and now we're showing them and we're customizing it for their exact situation. All right? So that's important. Okay? Number 2 would be now the segment related problem. So you're identifying their problem, right? And then it's here. So the segment related problem and your segment related solution, right? So Based on what you just told me, I identified X, and the number one thing for you to do next will be shared with you on the next page. Something along those lines, right? So I've identified your problem. I understand what's going on with you. You don't have any marketing experience. So I'm going to send you a report or come on the other side, and there's a video where I'm going to explain to you the one thing on what can help you with building high qualified leads without any marketing experience, right? So that's what would go after here. Then what we do is, okay, now this is something that's interesting. I didn't mention it over here, but what you can do, okay, is we talked about this earlier, right? Ethical bribes, something of value. So what you could do here is you could tell them that you're going to send them a report, or it really depends on the type of survey that you have, right? It might be that you're giving them the outcome or where they rank or what color they matches their workout schedule, right? Whatever that is, that's going to be part of the results. You're going to create curiosity on this page. So we'll dive into that later, but what you're doing is you're still identifying what the problem is, you're showing them what the solution is, and now down here, you're telling them what to do, which is that they need to fill out their information below, and this is where they have their, their information. Let's call it whatever. Depends on what you want, depends on what you need, right? And the idea here is that you're going to position it where you're going to give them that one thing that will solve their problem after they submit their information on the other side, and that'll be on your outcome page. So the language is, you don't have any marketing experience, and based on the information you've given me, I've identified what you need. So fill out your information below, and I will see you on the other side and share with you what it is you can do now to solve your problem. All right. So the idea is that you're not giving them information on the lead opt-in because you want them to fill out the information. They want them to give their name, right? So name, email. If you need address, ask for address, right? If you need the phone, ask for the phone. Whatever you're not going to use, don't ask. At least not in the beginning. Phone, you can make it optional. Okay. So, and then there's the click button, your disclaimer, etc. Right? So you're telling them what to do, and you're adding in, right, telling them what to do, the call to action, and the reason why I throw in here ethical bribe is because you could offer them something here of value to the person that lands on this page, in addition to all of the other stuff that they're going to learn about themselves. So whether it's the report that you're going to give them from when they signed up through this process and gave you information, it could be you giving them a PDF to a checklist, whatever your giveaways are. You can add them to an email series. You can get them to book a call, whatever this stuff that we're trying to get them to do at the end. We're trying to now make this ethical bribe relatable to what we're doing on the back end. That's something that they want, that will help them with what they're going to be doing. Okay, so, and I'm gonna have like a framework laid out here, so I'm going to be able to ask you guys a few questions, and we'll fill it out immediately, right there and then. So next step after that is they're going to land on their outcome page. Okay, and on the outcome page here, okay, on your outcome page, what's happening is now the person has filled out their information. They've now opted in, So +1, ding, lead generated. You just built your list. Congratulations. Ding, the person's in your database. You have this person in your database. Awesome. So a few things. Number one, you have an option with outcomes. Your options for the outcome are as follows. You can set up your outcome inside my system, or at this point in time, when they click submit, you could take them to an external third link, whatever your sales page is, and send them somewhere else from this point on. That's up to you. That depends on what you want to do with your business. But the ability for you to have an outcome page on my side is there. And it's a question of if you want to use it or not. If you're someone who already has everything set up, you have a business flowing, and you normally will drop somebody into a sales page, great. Then just to alleviate any extra work, send them over there if you want. No worries. I don't care. But you want it to be relatable to what they just did. Okay? So on the outcome, your headline is still here. You're going to take this same headline and you're going to have it onto the outcome page. Each lead opt-in page there'll be a rule on where they're going to go. You could send them to 4 different outcomes, right? L1 to O1, L2 to O2, L3 to O3, or you can send L1 to O1 and then the other 3 to O2 if you wanted, right? That's up to you. Totally up to you. Your guys' choice. It's got to be relevant, okay? The idea here is that you're trying to design a solution very specific for each of the target markets that you've just created, okay? You've laid the framework. You now like put the dirt down and you have a foundation and you have this thing where you're going to get somebody through the process. They now answer all these questions, and now you want to be able to now just do what you just did all this work for. You want to be relatable, okay? So on here, you're going to still have this same headline where you're going to be outlining it with what is the desire, the segment specific desire, whatever that is that specific target market wants. And you're then going to get into whatever the segment specific challenge or objection is in the headline. Same exact thing. How to segment specific desire without segment specific objection, challenge, what have you. Okay. So you're going to have that as your number 1. Okay. Number 2 is you're going to immediately communicate with them about what just happened over here and anything that you promised them. You want to get that out of the way. You don't want them like worrying or leaving or doing anything. You do not give, if you're giving away an ethical bribe, you never, ever give it away over here in the outcome. You do not. You want the person to stay here in the outcome, right? You want them to get here and you want them to stay here, because here's the part where you're going to try to transition them from a lead into taking some sort of action. All right. So what you do is you acknowledge so you're going to communicate about the receivables that they're expecting. So if you're emailing them a report or sending them some PDF or a checklist, explain to them, hey, your report's on its way. It'll be in your inbox in the next hour, right? And the reason why you're doing it with time is because you want them to not freak out and leave and go look in their mailbox. You're telling them it's not going to be there for another hour. It really depends on what you're doing on the back end. You can use different time intervals, but it's all based on what are you doing with your specific outcome. If it's you want somebody to sit and watch a 30-minute webinar, well, then you need 30 minutes for them to hang out, right? If you want them to just sign up for a guide, it'll be there in the next 15 minutes, right? So the idea though is that you want them to stay here. You want them to engage with your newsletter, your video, whatever it is that you now have. And the goal here is you want to be, all right, so 1, 2, 3, you want to relate to them and show them you understand where they are. This is where you're going to describe their situation. And you're going to describe their situation based on what you learned all through here, up in your survey. All the things you learned about them. You're going to now talk about it. You're going to describe their situation. To the point where you want these people to be sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, man, he really understands me. Like, wow, he really gets it. This is, okay, he knows what he's talking about. And that's powerful, guys. Like you're going to hit on something of where they are. So as an example, let's say that you came through here, you're on the outcome page. I tell you that you're going to be getting a checklist on how to generate cold leads. You're going to get my blueprint, whatever, right? And now I got to be relatable to somebody and show I understand what's going on with them and their situation. So listen, I know you're struggling to generate high qualified leads. You're having trouble, you're spending money and the leads aren't converting into sales. And it's frustrating. And every time you feel like you're making progress, you spend some time on a program, you launch it and it bombs. And you're almost in a place now where you maybe this isn't for you, right? You're struggling here and you can't make it happen. But on the flip side, you're seeing all these people on the internet running around, flashing their Ferraris, living the laptop life cycle, and having a ball and making it look so easy, and it makes you feel bad. And I get it. I've been there. I understand that. I understand where you're at, and don't give up. And it's okay. And now I'm going to start to dive into what's the solution, right? Like what's the thing they're looking for that I know about that I'm going to share with them. Now, this is where I'm starting to do my transition, right? I'm first relating to them, I'm showing to understand them, describing their situation, and now you're starting to transition. Now you're starting to get into what is the one thing for their situation. So now you're going to talk about delivering the solution from the big promise earlier on over here. You're going to now start to deliver this to them. You're going to start to explain to them the situation of whatever it is that your solution is. Okay? Can you guys see that? It's a different color. But delivering, you're going to explain it. And naturally, as you're explaining it, the answer to all of their problem is what you're selling. Your product and service. All right? And now this is where you start to get into what you do. And the idea here is that you want to keep it relatable. So you start designing it. So let's say if you're going to start to, use your FAQs, right, for the logical people, well, in that case, you're going to order based on segment. So if you have 10 questions in your FAQs, well, whatever questions are most relevant to each of your segments, you're going to have to order them. They're all going to be the same. You're just going to reorder it on the page, okay? Because you want the first few to be whatever is relevant to whomever is coming through by your target market. If you're going to start to do any proof with testimonials, Again, relevant. If you know who they are, the more you know, you want to try to find a testimonial that is relevant to their current situation. Okay? I talked about this in the podcast last week. If somebody is coming through your flow, who's a 45-year-old woman, you don't want the testimonial to be some 22-year-old kid who just got out of college, who's a guy talking about like that he can go buy a really fast car, right? That's not going to be relatable to the 45-year-old mom who has 3 kids. She might be single and she's struggling to get by financially, right? She wants to see somebody like that that's going through and finding some success with whatever it is that you're delivering to them, right? So, and then there's always the on the impulsive side, you're going to go and you're going to create some scarcity, some urgency, right? Depends on how you want to go about selling them. If somebody that is a risk averse buyer, are you giving any money back guarantee? If so, make sure they see that they have time to get their money back, and that's it, right? You just boom. This is really the whole kits and caboodle. Once we have this done and set up, now we watch and see how it performs. We're going to watch to see on the start page, what's the click rates? How many impressions do you get? How many people start? Once they start, we're going to watch the drop-off rate from question to question, right? We're going to see. Usually we want to see 90% or more from each question. If you start seeing big drop-off, we got to go change these questions. Get them onto the lead opt-in page. Now we're going to watch what is the conversion rate for each of the lead pages. How many people land on the page? How many people are actually filling out their information, right? Is there a huge discrepancy on is this one converting 80% and these are converting at 10%? Why? What's going on, right? The other thing is, what we're going to want to look at is once they fill out the lead forms, how big is each segment? You're going to want to see from the lead opt-in what the percentages are for each of your segments. Because remember, you don't want to have one segment over 50%, even 40%. So if you do, then this is going to tell you right here that your segments aren't accurate. So that's going to be a good measurement. And then on the outcome page, this is where we're going to watch to see how many people land on the outcome page and take the action that you're looking for. Okay? So that's where the analyzing comes in, and then we optimize based on these numbers. So you start doing it. There's these standard baseline numbers, but then as you start to watch your business, you're gonna know what numbers to expect, and then you have a baseline, and then you test and always see if you can beat the control. All right. So this is what we're going to be doing for the phase 3. Ideally, the way we'll do it to be quick is we're going to try to do it in a way where you'll have your big promise, you'll know your challenge, you'll know what the problem is, and then you will have your welcome page, right? Your start page. You'll know what ethical bribes you want to offer, okay? So by doing so, we'll be able to fill out these pages, and you'll be set up and ready to roll and test. For anybody that's doing it on a segment, you just got to figure out what type of survey you're doing.